All right. Good afternoon. I'm Dave Anderson, and I serve as chair for the Kansas Behavioral Sciences Regulatory Board. I ask the members of the board to respond to a roll call to signify their presence at this open meeting that is being conducted remotely by conference call or other electronic meeting. Denise Seisman,
Here.
Jill Flessing,
Present.
Linda Heitzman Powell,
Present.
Donna Honer Queel,
Donna was unable to attend the meeting today.
okay. Mary Jones,
Here.
Jim Kilmartin,
Present.
Richard Nobles, Andrea Perdomo Morales,
Present.
Cynthia Shendo,
Present.
Laura Shaughnessy,
Present.
David Stevens.
Here.
I note the following staff members are also present: David Fye,
Here.
Leslie Anderson,
Holly, I'm here.
Tim Resner, serving as legal counsel for the board, is also present.
Here.
Next, David Fye will read a message concerning this meeting being held remotely.
Thank you, Dave. This is David Fye, Executive Director for the Behavioral Sciences Regulatory Board. Public comment allows the public to address the advisory committee about, or the board about its concerns, but the Kansas Open Meeting Act, or COMA, does not require the board to provide public comment or answer questions from individuals. Individuals requesting to provide public comment could contact the executive director prior to the meeting by sending an email to david.fye@ks.gov. There will be no public comment at this meeting to allow sufficient time for the board to discuss all items on the agenda. Because we are conducting this public meeting remotely, I state for the record the following information. Access to this meeting is being conducted by Media Interactive Communication that allows members of the public without cost to attend the meeting through the in-person or through the conference call or by viewing the YouTube channel for the agency. While the meeting is conducted remotely, the requirements of the COMA are not suspended. As such, we will be conducting this meeting pursuant to the COMA. In the morning of February 24th, 2025, we sent notice of the board meeting to all individuals that requested notice of the board meeting. The notice was also posted on the board's website, ksbsrb.ks.gov. You may obtain a copy of the notice at that website. An agenda and other media material have been posted on the board's website and are available for review. You may also request a copy of the agenda specifically by sending an email to david.fye@ks.gov with the subject line request for the agenda, and it will be sent to you. The notice contains information for the conference call and YouTube broadcast that allows the members of the public to attend the meeting free of charge. The notice also states that if we have any technical issues during the meeting, you may send an email to bsrb@ks.gov. A recording of this meeting will be available on the BSRB YouTube channel following the conclusion of the meeting by using the link to the meeting on the agenda. And I did check the conference call line before we got started. There's no one currently on that line, but if I hear someone beep over and introduce themselves, I will let you know.
Thank you, Dave. The meeting is now called to order. The board will begin its discussion of the next item on its agenda. The next item is agenda approval.
I make a motion.
Thank
Second.
you. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
And just to clarify, was that a motion to approve the agenda?
Thank you. Yes, it was. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. That'll take us to new business and a discussion on legislation. Dave?
Thank you, David. I just want to go ahead and open up this item on the agenda. During the legislative session, I try to keep the board informed to the best of my ability in terms of legislation that might affect the BSRB. One note before we move on to another topic, we are still attempting to get the legislation for the BSRB introduced this year. It has been unusually difficult based on a number of different factors, one based on how long it took to draft the legislation, but then also some rules about when bills can be introduced in certain committees. So I did have a productive conversation with chair of an exempt committee on the Senate side I'm hopeful that the bill can be introduced this session, but I just want to gauge expectations and let you know that it may be a tight fit to get the bill passed this session. But if it is not passed this session and it is introduced in an exempt committee, it would survive until next session. So we'll still move forward trying to get it passed this session. But I just wanted to gauge expectations for that. There is a bill that recently passed the legislature. It passed in sort of an unusual way. It was Senate Bill 63, and the BSRB office has received a few questions on that bill. So I wanted to let the board have a special meeting today to receive some information from legal counsel for the board, Tim Resner. This bill was, it did receive a hearing on the Senate side. It was referred in sort of an unusual process to the House Committee of the Whole after it passed the Senate chamber. So it did not receive a hearing on the House side. It was passed by the House and then was sent to the governor for consideration. That bill was vetoed by the governor, and then it was returned to the legislature, and the legislature overrode the governor's veto in both the House and the Senate. The language in that bill did say the bill will become effective upon publication in the Kansas Register. Most bills say they would become effective upon publication in the Kansas statute book. And that would generally mean around July 1st or maybe a little bit later. But with the Kansas Register, that's a weekly publication from the Secretary of State's office. And so I understand that that bill was published this past Thursday. It was sort of fast-tracked for publication. And so I did want to make sure the board could come together as soon as possible to receive information from legal counsel. And so that is one of the reasons why I asked the board if they could meet quickly for the special meeting today. So as I mentioned, I did reach out to legal counsel for the board. And so I just kind of wanted to frame the topic for the special meeting today. Now, there is certain information, and if legal counsel, I understand in speaking to Mr. Resner that some of this information concerning Senate Bill 63 may be more information that is more suitable for attorney-client relationship type information for the board to receive. There is a statute in Kansas that guides the board in terms of what information can be received through an executive session. And so if the board would want to move into an executive session to receive some of that information, there is a process that we would follow. I have pre-drafted an executive session motion if the board would want to make that motion. One question I would have, and Mr. Resner may be able to provide some guidance on this, is just how long the executive session might last. And then we could have the meeting reconvene in a public session after that executive session ends.
Yeah, good question. May depend on how many questions the various board members have. I would think at least probably 10 minutes to talk about, the sort of some of the effects of the bill and gives an introduction regarding the bill. Maybe 20 minutes all told. I don't know if that provides enough time for questions. It may just depend on what your thoughts are regarding number of questions and how we're going to work the bill. Okay.
Well, I want to make sure the board members have sufficient time to ask questions. And so what I would recommend, perhaps given the amount of time for the special meeting that we have scheduled, is perhaps 30 minutes for an executive session. That way the board go into executive session around 4:15 and come back from that around 4:45. Would that be fine for the board?
Yeah.
Fine with me.
Yes, fine with me as well.
Okay. Well, what I have done is I've pre-drafted a motion here, and I'll go ahead and read off this language. If a member of the board would like to make the motion, at the end of the language, I will ask if a member would like to make the motion. But this language is very specific, and it is recorded in the minutes. So you would see this in the minutes from the next meeting. So pursuant to KSA 75-4319, would a member of the board move that the board recess into executive session for 30 minutes and reconvene the open meeting at 4:45 p.m. The meeting will be reconvened remotely by conference call at 1-877-278-8686, PIN number 327072, and by Zoom as directed in the notice of meeting that was sent to individuals who requested notice and is published on the board's website, ksbsrb.ks.gov. The justification for closure is communication with legal counsel that would be attorney-client privilege. David Fye, Executive Director for the BSRB, and Leslie Allen, Assistant Director and Licensing Manager for the BSRB, and Tim Resner, the board's legal counsel, are to be included in the executive session. The subject to be discussed in the executive session is attorney-client privilege communication. So would a member of the board like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion that we move into an executive session, discuss SB 63.
Second.
Second.
Question on the motion?
Question?
David, question on the motion. Did you just release the number we're going to use for executive session?
No, there are two conference calls lines that
Okay.
this conference call line is the one that we always make publicly available.
Okay.
The way that individuals can call in to the normal meeting. Board members for the executive session, you should have received an email that is specifically tabbed as executive session conference call information. So there is a different number in that email.
I got it.
Yeah, so it's very similar, but yeah, this is the notice for the public to let them know back at 4:45. The information that you received will be a different number for the conference.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, David, when
Yeah.
did you send that? This is Linda.
That was sent just around maybe 3:30 or
3:13 p.m.
3:13.
Okay. Because I'm driving, so I have to get over there.
Okay.
I don't have it. Wait, there it goes. Is it from Leslie?
It would have been sent from me right around I guess 3.
Okay. Found it. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We will now turn into an executive session.
And thank you, members of the board. If you wouldn't mind, just go ahead and turn your cameras off. I'll put you all in a waiting room, and then I will mute the broadcast and with a message that we will come back at 4:45, and then go ahead and call that
Yes.
confidential phone number. And Leslie, go ahead and turn your video off as well.
Welcome to the Conference Nation Health Incident Survey. Please enter your PIN number to join us.
David, you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. You know, this juggling is pretty tough for an old guy.
Well, we are back and the meeting is broadcast again. We said we would return at 4:45, and so we have returned at that time. And I will go ahead and admit David Stevens, he had called in earlier, and he is now back in the meeting as well.
I'm on.
So the question was, do people want to return to an executive session today? Or do we
I would
want to
support
get
that.
rescheduling?
I'm available to go and do another executive session.
I am also.
I am too.
I am
But
for
it's-
a little while.
How about a show of hands for those who would be available? Okay.
This is David Stevens. I'm showing my hand.
Okay.
Yeah, can you guys hear me? This is Linda.
Yes.
I'm available as well.
That would be a majority of members of the board that would be available to go into executive session again. We would need to go ahead and read off a motion to go into executive session. The question would be, how long would board members want the executive session to last?
I have a few questions. This is David. So
I have a question as well. This is Linda.
So maybe 15 minutes?
Yeah,
That sounds sufficient for everyone? Okay. How about if we do 20 minutes just to allow for a couple minutes to change over? So what if we said for the board to move into executive session for 20 minutes and to reconvene the regular meeting at 10:10? Would that be fine?
works for me.
All right, so I'll read off the motion here and see if a member of the board would like to make the following motion. Pursuant to KSA 75-4319, I move the board recess into executive session for 20 minutes and reconvene the meeting at 5:10 p.m. The meeting will be reconvened remotely by conference call at 1-877-278-8686, PIN number 327072, and by Zoom as directed in the notice of meeting that was sent to individuals who requested notice and is published on the board's website, ksbsrb.ks.gov. Justification for closure is communication with legal counsel. That would be attorney-client privilege communication. David Fye, Executive Director for the BSRB, Leslie Allen, Assistant Director and Licensing Manager for the BSRB, and Tim Resner, the Board's Legal Counsel, are to be included in the executive session. So to be discussed in the executive session is attorney-client privilege communication. Would a member of the board like to make that motion?
So moved.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Okay, go ahead and repeat the same process, and then we will begin an executive session shortly. All right, welcome back, everyone. We are back to the broadcast of the board meeting.
Next on our agenda was any additions to our agenda. Not seeing any. I would accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. We have a motion to adjourn and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you all for your time today.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.